international relations after the war. It's been 4 months now since the war has been completed. Is there a new development after the war in international relations? There has been enormous hope and expectation that after the war that we will all rebuild Sri Lanka, move towards reconciliation. And one has to look at the paradigm of the international relations before the war. That period was governed by the international community focusing on a negotiated solution with the good officers of Norway, the co-chairs, and support for the peace process. And this particular paradigm was basically also defeated in the sense that the war was terminated by military means, not by a negotiated solution. And as a result of that, inevitably, international relations will change. If you look at war termination in other countries, it depends very much on how you terminate a war. If you terminate a war by military means or you terminate a war by negotiated solution. But in many such instances, leaders have risen from the ashes to rebuild their countries. The European Union is a very good example of a much major war where a few people said never again in Europe and built institutions. In India, in South Africa, we have many instances of leaders who have emerged to say never again and created institutions for reconciliation. What is the situation here in Sri Lanka? The president announced that in 180 days, the people in the camps will be resettled. In the last discussion 2 days ago with the Tamil National Alliance, it was stated that it is not possible to resettle the 180,000, 300,000 within the 180 days. One are technical constraints as a result of mine clearing and the enormous time that is necessary to clear the mines and to get the certificate from the United Nations. So even if we so wish to settle the people in 180 days, technically it is not possible. That has been the message. And then of course security considerations. This of course also means that there has been tension between the international community and the international non-governmental organizations. I understand that a letter has been sent by the INGO community to the Secretary General of the United Nations complaining very strongly about the current situation and lack of progress, and also warning about the impending monsoon and about contingency plans which are in place. We had a small experience of the monsoon, and last month when we had a meeting, the UNICEF official who was here said there were contingency plans, but they didn't work. And camps were flooded, the toilets overflowed, and there was a lot of hardship. So we hope it does not happen again, because any form of rebuilding the country and moving towards reconciliation has a lot to do with the camps and how we heal the wound, and the wound still remains with us. We can't shut it out. We can't, even if the press shuts it out, we can't shut that out, because messages do go out of this country about the pictures, the hardships, that the people are experiencing. The foundation therefore believes and states very strongly that every effort has to be made to ensure the resettlement in stages. Now today it was announced that those who can live with families, and if families are prepared to accept them, then can live. That's an excellent step. If creative means are found, and if policymakers go to the camps, I think you'll see a big difference. There are creative ways in which you can resettle large numbers of people already. But there has been increasing tension between the Western powers and Sri Lanka. The first one, of course, is the European Union Commission report on the GSP-1. The foundation had several meetings here, and we warned very clearly that unless serious attention is given to the concerns expressed by the Commission, that we will lose the GSP-1. There was an inevitability to even get the trade unions and the garment manufacturers together in one place. There was an inability to come to a common sense consensus as to how to deal with the issue of the concerns expressed by the Commission. So now we have a report. The report has been leaked, so we know what the contents are. And we do not know whether the government will respond to that report. And it will certainly dislocate a large number of our workers. Not only that, the message that is being given by the European Union, and if we do not get the GSP-1, is very serious, because then other countries will take note of the fact that Sri Lanka has not adhered to international norms, which is the principle on which countries work together. There have also been visa restrictions which are now coming up from countries. I don't want to go into details, but ministers' visas have been refused. There are the UN visit of the Sri Lankan delegation. There are problems, and that shows that international law is coming to grips with the situation in Sri Lanka. What does that mean? There is a renewed call now for an inquiry into the crimes committed during the war. I was one of those who said at the Human Rights Day, and it was given high publicity, that if we violate humanitarian law or human rights law, we cannot find a place to hide. International law today and humanitarian law is very powerful. And domestic law in countries is also very strong. And those who have committed crimes, whether it is from the LTT or the armed forces, will be brought. It may take time, but it will happen. Whether it is Bosnia or whether it is Liberia, many other countries, eventually there is no place to hide. And therefore, in the pursuit for coexistence and reconciliation, I think it is very important to recognize that Sri Lanka is living within an international community. And whilst we may get a lot of support from the Asian countries, our trade and our value stream is determined by the West. 85 to 90% of our trade is with the Western countries. Our value frame, our democratic institutions are all based on international values.